Okay, welcome back, friends. I am so delighted to be here with Dame Clarissa Burt. Did I pronounce that right, Dame?
Clarissa Burt is fine. Yes, that's fine.
Clarissa,
Dame
Clarissa.
is a lovely title that was bestowed upon me a year and a half ago. Yeah, that I'm
Yeah,
very
that's
honored.
kind of
Was very honored by.
fun.
But Clarissa is just fine.
All right. Well, names are funny things. We all got several different versions, but we are who
Yes,
we are, no matter what you call us.
yes.
So welcome. Thank you for being here. We had a time zone snafu, but we pushed through it and we found each other in this world.
Yeah.
So would you mind starting by just saying a few things that not necessarily are the list of the things that you've accomplished in your life, but a few things about who you feel like you are in this body and in this time space reality right now?
Yeah, I really feel as though, as I had said, sort of coming of age and in my, let's call it the autumn of my years, who I am as a leader, who I am as a messenger, who I am as the person that has gone through this, really good portion of this thing called life. I've learned I think most of the lessons that were the most pertinent, so that I might be able to write a book and give some really, I think, sound advice to those that are looking, seeking, searching for, help, assistance, advice, counsel, and being able to understand that this thing called life is one of the most amazing journeys our souls may ever be on, and therefore to do the best with it, make the best of ourselves from it, from the lessons that we learn, and knowing, full well that many of those lessons are going to be painful.
Mm.
Also, how to deal with the pain, how to almost, how to redirect that pain and that difficulty into something that is going to be serving not only for yourself and your life, but for those that you come in contact with.
That's so beautiful. I love that last piece in particular, seeing not only how you can grow from something, but seeing the
Mhm.
ripple effects of that growth on the world around you and how some of that challenge can be an offering. That's so beautiful.
Yeah, definitely.
So I believe your most recent book, I read it, talks about accepting mistakes as learning
Mhm.
and as stepping stones. And there's my little chime to remind myself to take a breath and say, who am I? What am I doing here? um, but what are some of the mistakes that early on were such a challenge for you to let go of? Why did it rise to the surface for you to even be aware that letting go of mistakes was an important part of this
Well,
process?
that not every mistake that is made, and let's just call it a learning, sorry, let's just call that a learning lesson, more
Yeah.
than a mistake, right? Because it's all part of the learning. I'm going to get rid of
Hmm.
that dinging for you too. It's all part of the learning process. So it's
Hmm.
natural, it's normal, and it needs to be embraced.
Hmm.
Because, one of the things that we talk about is fail, which is your first attempt in learning. And so
Mm.
that first attempt might not, I mean, I know that I have made the same mistake over at least two or three times in my life. And so you're not going to get it, and the universe is going to continue to present that to you. Source is going to make sure that if you were here to learn that lesson, you're going to learn it, and so,
Hmm.
and if you want to resist that, that's fine, but it will pre-present itself. And that at that time, you might have a few more tools in the shed, with which to better understand and redirect, whatever that message, that you haven't been getting, you finally got, is going to, not only again help you and those around you. We are in a constant state of evolution, right? And so we're in a constant state of education, right?
Mm.
That's where life comes in, right? That's
Hmm.
that as I speak very frequently about standing strong in your stead. And
Hmm.
that's again referring to the tools that you have in the shed on any given day at any given time to affront any given task that life will throw at you.
Hmm.
And so here comes the storm, here comes that hurricane, hunker down, everybody, and so when that storm passes through, you might have lost a leaf or two, you could have possibly lost a branch, but
Hmm.
you weren't uprooted with the storm and transported away because
Mm-hmm.
it is really our sacred duty to continually do the work on our personal development, on our self-improvement, and
Mm-hmm.
to learn how it is we can better, first off, love ourselves. The first chapter in my book speaks to release.
Mm-hmm.
All of those things that we were taught by the familiar tribe, by potentially your faith, by your friends, by educational institutions. These are all of the things that form our earlier years. And that we
Mm-hmm.
believe these things are etched in stone. And then you come to the realization one day that, you know what, maybe I really could work on that, or I could change that, or I don't have to buy into that, or maybe it really isn't, etched in a marble. Maybe it's
Mm-hmm.
one of those kinds of things that, since it's not serving me, it's not mine. I don't necessarily know that I want to own that. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's where you can start to really do, as I said, that work, on the evolution of you in this lifetime.
That's so beautiful. So when you think about your first like 10 or 20 years here, what were some of the things that were the most scary or painful or hard that
Mhm.
you later realized weren't really yours?
Right. Anger, yelling, screaming, violence, um, um, I was born in the 50s. There was a whole different mindset going on, and just in life in general then.
Yeah.
Uh, there was a very, very strict Irish Catholic upbringing in the house. So there you
Mhm.
generational the generational teachings that come in, and potentially traumas that come in as well. And so there we have, Catholic
Mhm.
church. Children are to be seen and not heard. Well, I was one of those
Mhm.
kind of kids that was Mary Poppins in the kindergarten play. I mean,
Yeah.
I was up there and out there and energetic. Of course, they were giving me an inordinate amount of sugar back in the day as well. And then they want to know why I was why I was so hyper. And so, all of that. So it was, well, she's just hype. Well, no, there was a reason for all of these things. And all of those things were layers
Mhm.
that you see this first 10 or 20 years that were put on me, that were given to me as titles, if you
Yeah.
will, that were given to me as personality traits that might
Mhm.
not necessarily have been my own.
Uh-huh.
So, that's where you have to stand again, strong in your stead, with great courage and consistency, and say, that isn't mine. That's a layer I'm going to peel off. And as you continue to peel back those layers, you come across this amazingly luscious and gorgeous fruit, much like you would a banana or anything else, you might be an orange. You come across this really amazing fruit that you go, well, there's the essence of who I am. That is the core of my being and my soul, the essence of me. And that's what I want to, that's my baseline now. That's what I want to start working from. And there you go. That was a path that started for me back in the day. And I continually want to work on being a better person tomorrow than I am today.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that you said you peel it back to get to the fruit because don't we always hear like peeling another layer of the onion, which does not sound sweet. It sounds like awful when you're peeling an onion and you
Yeah,
start
I don't think it's
crying and you're just
yeah.
like, ugh, and it's
Yeah,
stinky and like
no, no onions. No,
I
we'll
am
do
now
bananas
changing
and
that.
oranges or grapefruits, whatever else you can peel.
Thank you. Whatever you like that has
Yeah, yeah.
sweetness in the inside,
Yes.
that's what I'm peeling back the layers of. I love that so much. So you talked about like whenever that path started, can you remember like the first moment when you started to ask the question like, oh, maybe that's not me.
Mhm.
Maybe that's something that someone else put on me for whatever reason.
Yeah, when I was about 25 years old, I went through my first and most difficult depression. And
Hmm.
that took me about 2 years to get out of. It was also ranked with anxiety, and so it was a really difficult time in my life. And that's when I first realized that there was probably more than this life picture than I realized. And back in the day, Z, there were three bookstores. We had Border Books, Walden Books, and of course Barnes and Noble. And in the very, very back, there was a little section called self-help. And at the time, it couldn't have had any more than 40 or 50 books on it. It just really wasn't a thing yet. And so that's where I lived. That's where I went to every bookstore. I went to every self-help section. I would buy books. I would read the books. I bought more books. I read more books. And I realized that there was something, much bigger and better, bolder and brighter out there for me than what I had previously learned. And that was really the moment where I think a lot of us, we do get to that point in life, say there's
Mhm.
something different, there's something more. What path can I? And that was my path. It was that.
Mm.
There was no internet then. There were no
Yeah,
computers at that point, right? We didn't have all of that yet.
yeah.
So that was the go-to. It was either that or potentially a library.
Mhm.
Now, when I invite everyone to do the work on themselves, no matter how difficult it may become at times or in different moments, knowing again that won't last forever. There are things that you've got to get through. We've got courses, we've got classes, we've got YouTube, we've got books, we've got documentaries, we've got all kinds of different information that's available to us if we can just sit at home and learn so much of it, right?
Yeah.
So that is one of I think one of the most heartening pieces in all of this is that, yeah, life is difficult and it will throw you some things, but it's beautiful too. And let's get to that life for you.
Yeah.
Um, and there you go. That it's as simple as that in all of the construction that we want to put around about how difficult it is. We
Mhm.
are the ones that make it more difficult at times than it really is.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I love how you acknowledge that it was really hard to find in that time period when you were trying to find it, and now it's almost hard to miss. It is becoming more and more a part of the general conversation, which thank goodness we need all the help we can
Yes,
get.
it's a $1 billion industry now, see. It's a
Yeah.
$1 billion industry. And now when you walk into Barnes and Noble, and I'm so blessed to tell you that my book has been on the shelves in Barnes and Noble for the last over 2 years. Right next to Brene Brown, Dr. Deepak Chopra, and Dr. Joe Dispenza is Clarissa Burt, which is
Oh,
it's a great gift, great gift. It's a $1 billion industry with
yeah.
rows upon rows upon rows upon rows
Yeah.
of personal development. And so there's the plethora there of who resonates with you, what resonates with you. There are lots of men authors, women authors, for all to behold and to learn from. So yeah, there's I like to say there's really no reason not to be doing the
Yeah.
work on yourself. And again, going back to the word your evolution.
Yeah, yeah, so beautiful. And so in those early days of the depression and the anxiety, how did you even know to go looking for a book? Was there a person who suggested that? Did you feel you were guided?
Yeah, I'm gonna feel like say that I felt like I was guided. There were, when you're going through something like that, you already are. Became also a little bit agoraphobic, so I wasn't even
Hmm.
out of the house for
Right.
in that first tier of
Yeah.
depression. You don't go near people, you don't really speak to people.
Hmm.
You're not even understanding what's happening to yourself. The anxiety is just so rife with making every moment of the day that difficult because it was really an
Yeah.
elevated kind of depression and anxiety. And so music helped a little bit. I knew that music
Mm.
supposed to be soothing, that the afternoons were a little bit easier than the mornings. There were
Ah.
certain things, just and that I couldn't even look at the front door of the house without getting an anxiety
Mm.
attack. So that was really back in the day. And that's when, your mind's going to shut you down when you've got to do the work.
Yeah,
If it comes to something, well, mine was a rather acute situation and people are in that kind of
they
situation,
are.
frequent or not frequently, but I'm sure there are many people that have passed through that
Yes.
kind of acute anxiety and depression. So, learning from that was something that, and then another depression came along some years later, and I realized that this was part of
Mm.
what it was passed on to me genetically.
Hmm.
I realized it was passed on to me generationally.
Hmm.
I realized it was passed on to me through, again, the educative first 10 or 20 years
Right.
that I knew it was on me, again, my duty
Yes.
to correct, my duty to correct.
Yes, and I love that essence of self-responsibility, right? Because there's many things that we've inherited that we
Mhm.
wouldn't have chosen.
Yep.
And it's like if you inherit an old, broken down house that's just absolutely packed by a hoarder with
Right.
disgustingness,
Right.
you gotta either, you gotta do the work to clean out that house and sell it, and that's nobody else's job. And sure, do we wish that we had inherited something different or
Right.
easier or lighter or more lovely? Of course. But I love that you were able to see that it was your opportunity
Yeah.
slash responsibility, ability to respond to what you had been given and to say, looks like this depression is something that is going to keep knocking on my door and asking me what I'm going to do about it.
Right.
And in those moments where, you were in the depth of it and it felt like, I can't, it's too hard, I can't. And you still, you had the book sitting around and you knew that it was your job, but you just couldn't.
Yeah.
How
And
did
I tell you
you?
that in the very first stages of that, see, I don't, for those that have been through it, they'll understand what I'm saying. In the very first stages of that acuteness,
Mhm.
it's impossible to read.
Right.
It's impossible to think. I remember standing at a window and sobbing, just
Yeah.
tears. I don't even know where just the tears just flowed for
Yep.
hours. I stared out a window. I didn't even know what I was looking at. There was
Yeah.
no focus. As I said, it's really amazing the human brain, what it will do in order to get you right,
Yeah.
in order to help you. And believe it or not, that pain was a path.
Yeah.
It was a path.
Oh, there
The
you
other
go.
thing, yeah, the other thing too is, and I want to offer this up, is that there's no blame, there is
Yeah.
no shame, and there is no guilt in any of this. If you
Mhm.
want to continue to blame your parents, I'm going to tell you that that's just not going to work. You can't do
Yep.
that because they also didn't come with a manual. Again, you can talk about the generational trauma, but what you can do as you're understanding why you are the way you are is to continually say the toxic stops here. The
Mhm.
toxic stops here. And that
Mhm.
you know that it's on you to right a lot of the wrongs. And it
Mhm.
really almost frees up some of your ancestry. It
Yes.
really kind of free you go, okay, all is forgiven, everybody's
Yes.
good, and the toxic does stop here. And
Yes.
that's what I work on every day, is making sure that toxic does stop. You know,
Yeah.
here comes your note to self that I'm going to be meeting with you in a half an hour, but there you are.
Ah.
Talking about that time difference here in Arizona. But so just to again to say it is a no blame, it's a no blame, it's a no shame and a no guilt
Yeah.
um, position that all of us must take because a lot of us say, well, I can't talk to it about any because I feel guilt about what.
Yeah.
There's no better work that you'll ever do. And then to find, I remember in the very beginning, speaking to just people, anyone that would listen. I was on a bus back and forth to New York there after a little while, and I talked about it, and they said, "Oh, girlfriend, depression. I've had 3 of those already." So I was like, "Wow." So it's
Yeah.
not happening to just me. And
Yeah.
this is a thing, and it has a name. It's called depression. And so there you go. So
Yeah. And that it's not your fault and it's not your parents' fault. And in those impossible moments where your brain just, when you can't read, when you can't think, I have experienced, and it sounds like you have too, this guidedness, this um I don't know how to describe it yet, but there's an element to which I feel like there's a gravity that is always pulling our souls back into wholeness,
Mhm.
and that we can't get on a wrong path. We're always going to get there, even if for a while it looks like we're on a, depression, anxiety, I'm not doing the work path. I love how you said the pain can be a path.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit more about that, like that other force that is supporting us, for those of us that feel like, well, I'm doing it wrong because I'm in the blackest moment of it and I can't do
No,
anything.
I really don't think, first of all, wrong wouldn't be the right word anyway, would it? I think that, any way that you feel most comfortable getting yourself, again, finding the path out of pain is
Hmm.
it music? What could it be? Could it be pulling out your paintbrushes and just silently doing some art? Could it be drawing?
Hmm.
Could it be just vegging and kind of binge watching something, even though you might not be focused enough on it? Is that enough? Just that,
Yeah.
whatever, a Netflix movie, can that give you enough comfort in that time? Just something up, light, and happy, mind you. We don't want to be watching horror movies, right? That's not what we want to be looking for, things that are going to lighten the load.
Yeah.
And maybe it could be just that walk in the sunshine sometimes is some of the greatest. If you can, some people have agoraphobia for a moment and they might not,
Yeah.
but those that can get out of the house, please do, and get into that sunshine. If you can get into nature, if you're in New York City, get into Central Park. There are places that you can go and do, sit and listen to the birds chirping. Take a
Hmm.
self-help, self-improvement book. Listen to a as you're walking out there, listen to some meditation. YouTube is full of it's free.
Isn't it
YouTube,
amazing?
you know, YouTube, meditation videos, subliminal videos, that you can just sit back and listen to the music, but there's some lovely subliminal messages that you're receiving. Do that as you sleep as well.
Yes.
Because, when you're sleeping, you're also receiving. And so if you have the earbuds in it or whatever, however you prefer to listen, you can listen to some really uplifting, again, I'm going to use the word educational, things that will help lift the heaviness of the emotion that
Mhm.
you're feeling, even subliminally, which is a great way to start because you have to put no effort into that. You
Yeah.
just sit back, sleep, and listen, right? And there are ones that last for 8 hours, 10 hours, that you're like all night you could be listening to that, right?
Aren't we lucky that YouTube exists? I just tell you, my life would be so much worse if it weren't for YouTube
No
because
doubt.
I have had years worth of not sleeping where I just did YouTube after YouTube after YouTube after YouTube
Yep.
after YouTube.
Yes.
Because, like you said, there are times when we might not be able to make it dramatically better, but we cannot make it worse by just offering ourselves these little doses of just get you through another half hour, another half
Yes.
hour.
Right. That's it. Piece by
Oh,
piece, little bit by little bit. And the next thing life is looking like a pretty darn great place to be.
yeah,
So
yeah,
as I say, as you continue to do the work, buy another book, read another chapter, speak to another friend. That's another thing that I talk about in the book is having a support system. And that is
mm,
not all of us are born into that kind of an environment, right? You might
yeah,
about it, you don't feel comfortable talking, you don't want the people, that close to you but get that support. Now, even with meetup groups,
yeah,
right? Meetup.com, there are meetup groups that are specifically created. Just come and talk, and I'm as soon as I leave you today, I've got a luncheon with the girls,
no,
just hang out and beat from the heart kind of ladies that are all there to support. We're all in our 60s, but and not many of us have men in our lives or children anymore so we really support one another. I mean, children anymore because they've left the house,
right,
because now we can really sit and say what's on our minds and believe me, we all are going through, everyone is going through
yeah, something,
something. You are
yeah,
going through something, which is why I also offer that we continue to be kind.
mm,
Be kind. I don't want to sound like Ellen, but I do want to underline, underscore, and put in bold italics kindness.
yeah,
You know, get up on public transportation for the elderly or a pregnant person. Let's get up and it's a compliment. People think there has
yes,
to be broad stroke grand things to be able
right,
to do a compliment. Oh, I love that. People I don't know, I'll see in the supermarket. Oh, that top is so pretty. It looks so good on you. That, silly stuff. Bye. Have a great day. Off.
it's
I'll never see her
huge
again in my life.
though,
A smile, holding the elevator door open for someone that's running to get to it, helping a woman down with a carriage down the stairs, baby carriage. Things that are so simple. The kindness, the manners, just good manners, right?
yeah,
Manner in which you move, right? The manner in
mhm,
which you manifest. is so important. It's just, it's a big, big, big piece. Because it's a double whammy. See, you feel good about it, they feel
That's
good.
right.
It's like
That's right.
win-win, win-win. Okay, next.
Well, and it's exactly what I love how you went from talking about having community and connection to talking about kindness, which is actually a way to create community and connection. So many of us have gone through time periods where we feel like I'm so alone, I don't have any friends, nobody loves me, my family, this, my this, and we can get stuck in the, nobody loves me. But the antidote is to go out and start loving people,
Yeah.
right? Loving strangers by doing those simple things you talked about is
Mhm.
you feel loved and you feel
Right,
connected
right.
when you give that love, and it can feel like it's the opposite, that you want to wait until somebody loves you and then you'll love them back, but it is so powerful. And I will tell you, even from the like I can't leave the house perspective, there are options. There
Mhm.
I have gone on to Instagram and just like responded to people that leave a comment like I'm having a really hard day, on some random thing, responded like, hey, I'm just sending you love.
Right.
I don't know them. I don't know what's going
Sure.
on.
Yeah.
And I had a situation where there was a young person in India who wrote a comment like that, like, I'm having such a hard day, it was to Lily Singh. It was like a big superstar that, she was responding to. I responded to her like, hey, just sending you some love. She messaged me. She's like 17 years old in some rural village in India, never connected with anyone outside of her world, has no one talking about self-help, no Barnes and Nobles, nobody saying you deserve a life where you feel loved and appreciated. And we ended up meeting by Zoom and having such a beautiful connection. And I felt, it gave me a lot of meaning and self-worth because I had been able to connect and contribute. She felt seen and heard and loved. And it was all from this random comment.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
As simple as that, to be doing the right thing. Before when we were talking, I wanted to also bring to point where a lot of people, weren't necessarily born again most of us were not born to perfect parents, right? And again, they don't come
Nobody.
with a manual, and let's give them all grace, because I think, being a parent is one of the most difficult jobs on the planet, without a
Sure is.
doubt. But it also comes to the point when you say, it's time for me to reparent myself. I
Mhm.
can reparent myself by doing the learning that we've been talking about all this
Yep.
time. Because if you don't come from a healthy family,
Yeah.
let's make sure that a healthy family comes from you.
Mm.
Let's make sure that we do the work, that we have that value system also in place. We can talk about boundaries and how important they are and all of that. But
Mhm.
in the self-esteem kind of world, and wanting to make sure that healthy family comes from you, we also want to be talking about our, like a good, strong value system, right?
Yeah.
So what system value system is really the blueprint that you have put together by which you will live your most esteemed life. So I
Mm.
put together mine. I take the high road. It's
Mhm.
honesty, integrity, gratitude, and honor. And
Mhm.
that's how I come to every relationship, every interaction, whether it's in my personal life, in my business life, whatever
Mhm.
it is, I want to make sure that I am bringing the best that I can possibly be. And when I realize that I might be straight, I don't know, maybe I'm having a gossip moment. Nope, we don't do that.
Yeah.
I want to make sure if I'm speaking about something, I'm speaking about them in the most positive way, right?
Mm.
Whereas 10, 20 years ago, I might not have done that. I was still working on coming around to understand that everything you put out is what you're going to get back in the way of energy. And so that
Mhm.
was another really huge piece for me. Again, going
Mm.
back to that kindness piece.
Yeah.
So I think that, being more self-aware in that
Mhm.
way, all
Mhm.
of us, is also a great stepping stone to learning about
Yeah.
ourselves.
I love how you brought it back to reparenting, because that also has an element of self-responsibility where we just recognize, okay, there were fundamental things that I didn't learn, and I'm going to go ahead and try to learn them now. And it's going to be a little bit harder because there's going to be unlearning along with the learning. That was something that in my lowest point, I was heading towards the psych hospital and I was given the option to take something called dialectical behavioral therapy. I don't know if you've come across it. It's a mix of cognitive behavioral therapy and Zen Buddhism.
Okay.
Um, and it's like a manual for how to be a human. It's extremely practical. It's stuff that a lot of people had the privilege to learn in early childhood. Um, and I just didn't. And basically, the premise is there's not something wrong with you. You have a skill deficit. And what can you do when you have a skill deficit is you can learn those skills. And then
Yes.
and then you just are in better shape. And I couldn't believe it because I thought for, the first 35 years of my life, I'm a problem. I'm broken. There's no hope. I'm just going to bring disaster with me wherever I go. And it'd be better if I wasn't here. And
Mhm.
then someone said to me, oh, but you could just learn some skills and you could have a different future. And
Ding, 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 ding. That's how simple it is.
I was gobsmacked. I just was, I couldn't believe it. Their slogan is how to build a life worth living. And it literally is just build a life worth living. Like you said, learn how to notice, okay, gossip doesn't feel that great for me. So what are some other
Yep.
options?
Yep.
Okay, it looks like when I just like don't sleep for weeks on end that I'm really a mess. Maybe I could try, figuring out how to go to put myself to bed at night because maybe I never learned how to do that. It's
Yep.
very basic, but most of it can be learned if we're gentle with ourselves and patient with ourselves, just as we would a little child.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Uh,
And that's the reparenting part.
yeah.
That's where we can take a look at, the inner child and sort of say, why is such whatever, why is such and such still trigger me to this day?
Yes.
And there are things that I realize that I may be triggered by, and then I want to understand it now. Again, living in mindfulness,
Yeah. Yeah.
self-awareness, right? Making sure that you keep that at the forefront, not just letting it
Yeah.
run, wanting to stop and understand, whose is it? Is it
Yeah.
mine?
Hmm.
Do I own it? Can I keep it, or does it have to go? Can
Yeah.
I modify it, or does it have to be eradicated completely?
Yeah. I
And
love
these are
that.
and yeah, and that's and therein lies almost, it becomes fun because it's almost like I'm not gonna say game you play with yourself, but it's the building blocks, is that building. And again, that my second chapter is rebuild. After release, we rebuild. And so you're rebuilding all of that, that your new life, based upon not only, again, the exercises that you decide that are the most. For example, my house is, I try to keep it as zen as possible.
Uh-huh.
uh, I'm diffusing the essential oils. I've got chill lounge music on at all times. The lighting is exactly the way I want it to be. I am in a warm, beautiful place. I've got a little feng shui going on in little different places in the house, making sure that the energy kind of flows the way I want it to flow. And it's my own little oasis. I've got little shrines in the house that have different meanings, and all the things that I know make me feel really, really
Hmm.
good, that I want to see on a daily basis in my home. I have vision boards that are up. One is a spiritual vision board, the other one is the practical vision board. And so there are different things, that they're those tools that I talk about, that keep me, kind of in that place that I want to be living my best
Yeah.
life. And it creates also that creative atmosphere.
Hmm.
Um, so I feel warm and safe and creative and open and receiving, which is fabulous. So
And
that's an
I would imagine that making your environment like that is a reminder to you of what your commitments are. So that in those moments where you're like, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I'm so tired. I don't want to do it. And you can look around you and be like, oh, I'm the kind of person that has a vision board. I'm the
Right.
kind of person that has a shrine so that I can be devoted to my values. I'm the kind of person that creates beauty around me because I'm valuable. So I love that idea of like putting external
Yeah.
reminders
They're
to,
everywhere.
that's really lovely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Setting yourself up for
And
the,
the 4 pillars of self-esteem being look good, feel good, be good, and greater good. I have decided now I'm creating a non-toxic skincare line. So if I were to pan around, show you around, the kitchen now is full of all of the things, and then the dining room table here is full of all the packaging and the envelopes and the bottles and to create that non-toxic life, to keep the toxic out of your head, your body, your heart, and your
Mm.
mind, right? No, therefore, far I'm missing one. Sorry, look good, feel good, be good, and greater good. But you understand, you look good is what you're putting on your skin, feel good is what you're putting into your body, be good is what you're putting into your brain, and greater good is what you're putting into your heart. There you go.
Oh,
I did
there
it.
you
So
go. You did it. You did it.
I
You
did it.
know,
So it's living a non-toxic existence, all
yeah.
while being an esteemed, living an esteemed life.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I love that you love acronyms because DBT is like all solid acronyms. So you'd probably love it too. And it's
Yeah.
so catchy and easy and helpful it's another way that you're supporting yourself and making it not too hard because when you're in those hard moments, you want to be able to reach for your 4 ideas or remind yourself with your acronym. I think that's so wise.
Fun.
So
I love
you've
making acronyms.
it's
I just love making those up.
yeah, it's so great. And it makes it fun. I think also that sometimes we can take this so seriously. And there are points on the journey where some of us who, take our perfectionism and put it into spiritual overachievement
Right.
can need a little reminder like, hey, let's take a deep breath. Let's, get back to some fun and just some beauty and some enjoyment. And the striving doesn't have to be all that there is. Um, ah, well, you have shared so much beauty with us today. Thank you for reflecting on your journey with us. And you've mentioned your book. I'd love for you to take a few moments and share anything that you'd like to about your book or about anything else that you're offering.
Yes, yeah, I'm really excited. As I said before, it's over 2 years in Barnes and Noble. It is a Plury Award-winning international bestseller, which is thrilling. And it's a book where you will learn. It's a manual. You will do something. You're not going to learn. You're going to learn about self-esteem, but you're going to do self-esteem. You're going to there's all kinds of, exercises, tools, tips, tricks, affirmations, case studies. The book is rife with the information that you will need to go from chapter to chapter with ease, grace, and glory,
Mm,
understanding where you need to begin and how I bring you through the process. Because again, you've got to release before you can rebuild. Once
mhm,
you're rebuilding, where are you taking responsibility? As you're
mm,
taking responsibility, let's reinvent some of the new
mm,
things that are, so there's all kinds of different 12 different chapters, the last chapter being reciprocity, which was
mm.
one of the things that were most difficult for me in my journey. Was, I love giving, but it was always difficult to receive. For me, it was a difficult thing to receive, and I had to understand that it gave others great joy to be able to give. And so whether I felt like I was worthy of receiving or not, which is a piece I had to work on, I also had to give others a space, with ease, joy,
Yeah.
and glory to give. And so that is a reciprocal thing, and that it's one of the laws of the universe. So it's all good. It's all good.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I definitely want to read the book and that specifically that chapter because that is something that's hard for me too.
I'll leave you with this, see if I may, and that's the 4 things in life that you can't get back.
Mm,
Okay. So it's the word after it's been said,
mhm,
an opportunity after it's been missed, time after it's gone, and trust after it's lost.
mm,
And I offer that so that so that people understand that a good, strong, healthy value system, when they are dealing not only with their love of self, but love with everyone else and the relationships that they will have, is that important. Loyalty is when I have your back behind your back.
mm,
So coming to the table, coming to a relationship whole is, again, it's our sacred duty. So continue to do the work and enjoy the ride.
Oh, so beautiful. Well, where can people find you?
Well, Clarissa Burt, basically on everything social. I'm everywhere. So, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, all the Twitter, all the things. Not Snapchat, but everywhere else. The book is also, it's in Barnes and Noble, but it's on Amazon with Kindle and Audible as well. So it's pretty much everywhere in every country in the world.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and end the recording and then hang around for a minute and we'll say our goodbyes. Right.
Thank you.